Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this. This is the council highlights from the December 8th meeting, I guess. It's been a week, busy week for Michelle and I to try to coordinate getting this done. So jump right into it. First things first, the Santa Claus parade that went on the Friday before the last council meeting. Of course, thousands of people out. It was fantastic. Netflix was there showing their or filming their movie. They couldn't have asked for better weather. They were so ecstatic with the snow and the snow that had fallen, and then the snow that was falling for their shoots. It was pretty mind-blowing for them, and to see a parade like that, it just fit their movie just perfectly. So it was fantastic. One missing piece, though, that we had at this parade was because of the passing of Mr. Mike Sweeney from Mike's Transmission. Everybody will always remember Mike for his float in the parades that had his Jamaican music cranked to about 13, regardless of whether it was the Santa Claus parade or the Little Britches parade. It was unfortunate that Mike passed away, and we're really going to miss his involvement with that, but maybe somebody will pick it up from there. So getting into the committee of the whole meeting, residential garbage pickup. We've got a couple of garbage trucks that are retiring, and we've got a couple of staff members that are retiring, so we're on the fence as to whether we look at contracting that service out to a private entity, or do we purchase a couple new garbage trucks and continue to do it on our own. Staff will be bringing back more information, but it's all wonderful to look at it financially when you look at contracting things out, because on a pretty simple spreadsheet you can make things look really, really good, but at the same time we want to make sure that the level of service that we're providing to our residents is taken care of first and foremost. So more to come, and there'll be RFPs going out to private entities to see what kind of pricing and everything else we get coming back. So lots of work to do on that one, just to let you know that that's been discussed. There was a question about the lights on 12th Avenue and 5th, about no dedicated left turn lane. I think when you're coming from the east and on 12th, I'm going to turn on, take a left onto 5th. There's no dedicated turn signal, and the reason is because there's not a dedicated lane there. That's why traffic backs up and everything else. It's different than down at the co-op where there is a dedicated turn lane, and that can alleviate some of the congestion real quick. So that one's up for continued discussion as to whether we can improve that or not. Another one was the infamous lights, and this happens every single election and sometime where throughout the term, is the pedestrian crossing on 5th through Wallaceville there. Of course, everybody knows that it's a pedestrian push button, and then it turns to a red light and everybody stops and waits until it goes green. Often we're asked as to whether it can just be push button and flashing amber, so that once the pedestrian's gone, then everybody can continue on. Obviously, that's a very, very busy stretch through there, and most people are not going 50 kilometers an hour. Most people are doing over 60. So I've even had the request from a few people to increase the speed through that area to 60 kilometers an hour so that they can get through it faster. And I'm not there. I'm not the one you're going to sell on increasing traffic speeds in High River for sure. So that was about it for committee of the whole. Then we went into the regular meeting at 3 o'clock, and the first one we had delegation from Kahina Yance, who's the executive director of the High River Gift and Music Society. Of course, this is a very, very important series of events that the Gift of Music puts on. They bring in entertainers and musicians from all over the world, high level musicians that provide their entertainment, and High River Gift of Music is just looking for some council funding so that they can continue this on. I think the ask right now is about $7,000 a year. So that will now be taken into our budget discussions in January, and we'll see where that one lands with council. The next one was a delegation on High Country Drive, the infamous intersection that we all know about and love to talk about. This delegation was in full support of the four-way stop, the bump outs, and the improvement in golf cart safety and pedestrian safety. So they came and gave us their thoughts on that. So those were the two delegations. Then we went into a simple renewal of partnership agreement between Town of High River and the United Way of Calgary. This will be an agreement effective January 1st, 2026 and goes through to December 31st, 2027. So that was a pretty simple housekeeping item. Then we went into the actual real discussion on High Country Drive and Highview Gate. The last set of council meeting, or back in, when was that? November, or first meeting after council was elected in maybe late October, early November. Council had a full discussion with the three new councillors. We went through all the material that had been gathered over the past 2 years of that thing being in place. So council had all of that information. When we went to that council meeting, everybody agreed at the time that we keep the bump outs and we turn it into a four-way stop. So we've sent that back to administration and asked them to give us proper drawings of the other one was to layer the two crosswalks, so not to have a separate golf cart and a separate pedestrian, but to have them both together. There's not that much traffic that we have to have them separate. So that was the other piece, and that was sent back to administration so for them to do proper drawings and to provide a budget of what the cost of this construction would be. So the December 8th, the last council meeting, the administration brought that design back to us, brought the costing back to us, to the tune of about $362,000 that'll be going to budget. But there was a couple other, Councillor Cooley brought up just removing the bump outs, removing the four-way, and just having a push-button pedestrian flashing light there, which is an option that had been discussed a few times over the last 2 years, but council had a discussion on that again. Lots of questions that went back and forth with administration and council, and you can watch the whole thing live on YouTube. Not live anymore, recorded on YouTube. And what we landed on was a decision that the four-way would remain, the bump outs would remain, the crosswalk would be layered, and we're moving that forward. Now, there was a recorded vote that you can see how everybody voted, but it was a 4-3 vote in favor of the four-way. One of the requests that I made is that I still didn't see on the drawings where the radiuses of the bump outs had been reduced, and the lane widths were still, there were 3.2 or 3.3 meters. They could get to 3.5. So once we get into more detailed actual engineered drawings, staff are going to reduce those radiuses of the bump outs as much as they possibly can, especially to get us back to the 3.5 meter lane widths that will help immensely as well. So, but the four-way is to remain, the bump outs are to remain, although reduced, and the crosswalk will be layered. Like I said, it's a 4-3 vote to move this forward. Of course, the cost of it, the capital infrastructure, all has to be brought to the capital budget in January. So still one more piece for it to get through, and that's getting through budget. So we're moving forward on that intersection. The important piece is that a decision gets made and the damn temporary things come out, but it won't be coming out until permanent construction is in place. The next one was grants in lieu of taxes. This is the Alberta government and the taxes they pay on their their facilities that they own in town. Of course, a number of years ago under the Kenny government, they reduced it right down. They were only going to pay 25% of what the actual bill was. Nice convenient thing, that opportunity that you have. Thankfully, this government under Premier Smith has brought those back up. I'll give credit where credit's due, and we're back up to 75%, and so that's looking better. That was pretty easy. And then we went through, because we are delaying our budget, we have to approve an interim operating budget, and this is just a quick budget that we've done numerous times over my time on council, for various reasons of when you're doing your budget. And this one is always, I do not believe at all in electing a council in October and immediately shoving them into a massive budget process that is extremely detailed, that they all have their thoughts on, and it's just too fast, especially with basically the whole month of November is the mandatory training that the province makes all of us do as elected officials. It takes an enormous amount of time, so try to shove budget in there too, it just doesn't make any sense to me. So we delayed it until late in January, that we will have our budget discussions. So because previous budget ends December 31st, we have to have a new budget in for January 1st, so that's why we do an interim operating budget that just carries us through until the new budget is approved. That's all that was. So pretty simple. Again, you can watch it all recorded on YouTube. Public comments section. I'm always going to touch on a couple of these, few of these things that I hear about in the public comment section. And one came about because of the 4-3 vote on the High Country Drive intersection. There was comments made that the mayor should not be voting at that time. When it's a 3-3, the mayor shouldn't vote, and because it's 3-3, it shows there's enough contention on the issue that the motion should actually fail. I'm sorry, but that makes absolutely zero sense to me whatsoever as to why you would have 7 members on council. The 7th member is there, and it's not just me that breaks a tie. It could be any of the other 4 that voted on that break the tie. But the legal requirements of any member of council, who the mayor is a member of council, we are obligated to vote on everything unless there is a pecuniary interest, a financial interest that we have. So I will always be voting. I am elected into this position just like everybody else, and I have my opinions, I have my thoughts, I have my ideas, and I have my vote. There is no part of this that says the mayor is not to vote on anything or when they're to vote. So that's MGA rules. The next piece was a comment regarding our interim, because we do an interim operating budget, as to where's the interim capital budget. The interim capital budgets are actually kind of an unnecessary thing to go through, because anything that was approved in the last capital budget, regardless of what state it is in that project's construction, taking different projects into account, not all of them are finished within that 12-month span. So you might only be halfway done, 3/4 done by the time December 31st hits. Well, that project has still been fully approved, and the funding has been fully approved in the previous budget. So those projects continue. You do not start anything new, any new capital projects, until your capital budget is approved. And so we'll get into that. And that was all confirmed with municipal affairs in the province and the MGA and everything else. So that's all legit. One other little piece that came up during the High Country Drive intersection, a gentleman was talking about there being a roundabout that was proposed in one of the plans, and that was the solution, and we'd never talked about it or anything, and which is completely false. A roundabout idea was the first thing we discussed way back when this all started. And yes, there's benefits to roundabouts, it moves traffic, everything else. The problem is that the amount of land that roundabouts take was going to significantly impact the two houses on the east end of that intersection, and neither of those residents were willing to give up a large portion of their property in order for us to build a roundabout, and it would have been very hard to line that thing up without moving into their yard. So the roundabout was discussed, and that was just one option that was quite quickly taken off the table just because of the land of residents that we needed to acquire. That wasn't going to happen, so it was dead in the water before it started. Strategic priorities chart. Council went through their strategic priorities with the new 3 council members, and we've come to our top 5 priorities are the review of the land use bylaw in the traditional neighborhood district, the High Country Drive intersection and getting that completed, the Northwest roads and what to do about them, which would be Cold Trail, 64th, 88th, 112th, all these roads still up for discussion. The Northeast Area Structure Plan, that's out in the Northeast. That one's still going on, the engagement's going forward, and then the sports field upgrades. So where we're landing with soccer pitches, and that's the main one, ball diamonds and soccer pitches, and how we're working together with the school division and their fields and utilizing those so we don't have to build our own, and kind of working in partnership and seeing where those are all going. So that's our 5 strategic priorities. So that's it. See you later. Bye. Thanks.